Welcome back. I've been speaking to two eminent agricultural economists, Dr. Ashok Gulati and Dr. Ramesh, on the state of food inflation in the country, especially after the August numbers indicated a sharp spike in both cereal inflation and in food inflation in general. Dr. Gulati and Dr. Chand, thank you very much for your patience. Dr. Gulati, let me come to the global scene. There was an allusion to the fact that in September, mid-September, we saw the prices of corn, etc., rise. Do you think this can continue to be a negative impact, or should we take encouragement from the fact that after a high level, we actually have seen the FAO index fall in June, July and August?
Let's start with the better news globally. Initially, because of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, almost 50 million tons of wheat, corn, all these cereals were literally, there were supply bottlenecks. And now, whatever the agreement has been reached, the news is that those shipments are on its way to the global markets. So that is going to, in a way, improve the supplies, pressure on supplies. Second thing is the climate change that is happening. We haven't talked about that more globally, the heat wave in Europe and even US. But in Russia, it's going to be a bumper crop. So we have to still wait and watch overall global supplies, how they will be impacted. But the story is mixed. And on top of that, globally, you also talk about the likely recession that is being discussed right now in Europe and US. Then the demand will also get compressed somewhat. So there is a better news on certain fronts, and there is not very good news on some other fronts. My feeling is the worst is perhaps behind us, and no matter this little blips up and down, we are likely to be in a much better situation in the months to come. But still, we will not be able to bring it down to below 6% or 5% or 4% as RBI perhaps. I would expect the CPI general index remaining around 7% and food inflation a tad higher. Maybe about 7.5%, 8% on that front. So that's what my assessment of the global and the domestic factors would be.
Okay, so that's not looking very good, but as you say, there are at least some positive factors in terms of probably recession cooling down. Dr. Chand, this is going to be a little difficult, this question. What we were picking up from the market is that vegetable prices also can continue to remain high, perhaps up until December, because of the late rains and the monsoon taking a longer time to withdraw than was originally expected. So there is talk of tomato prices rising. What can you enlighten us about the immediate impact on vegetables?
I think this retreating of monsoon is happening. That is the news from Meteorology Department. It is happening this week. And I do not expect this withdrawal of monsoon to get prolonged. And vegetables, which of course are highly sensitive to excess rainfall or shortage of rainfall, I feel that season is over. And some sort of stability will appear in case of vegetable prices. Already we are seeing it in the case of onion. I expect that this will be followed by potato, and then in the case of tomato. Yes, there is setback to area. This is the news that overall area under these three crop is less. But other than area, the more kind of impact of monsoon on vegetable prices come from harvest. which is affected by any slight aggression in monsoon. So to my mind, the active or full phase of southwest monsoon is over. We are in for a more stable moisture regime. I do not expect any serious weather event which is likely to put a very high adverse effect on vegetables.
So
that is on vegetable front. If you permit
yes,
this,
please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. You also mentioned about international factors, which of course are very, very important. I feel that at the core of all those factors, what happened to energy prices? Whether it is Ukraine-Russia crisis, how it folds. Yes, whatever wheat comes from Russia, Ukraine, that also affects. But to my mind, that is a secondary factor. The primary factor is what is the price of natural gas, how the supply of crude. One day news may come that Russia is going to flood Asia with crude. So it may be very good news for Asia and it may be very good news for energy prices, because if energy prices are low, even diversion of food for feedstock, for biofuel, goes down considerably. So I feel that energy is the core factor which is affecting, and Russia-Ukraine frontier, this news which has maximum impact on energy and its transmission in various ways on food prices.
Okay, so very quickly, Dr. Chand, you would agree with Dr. Gulati's assessment that we are still likely to be around 7% in terms of inflation and a little higher for food?
It is difficult to disagree with Dr. Gulati, but I would like to make one suggestion through your channel, which can have some cooling effect on prices, especially cereal prices.
Okay.
I feel the government should not extend Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana beyond 30th September. The need to check inflation is now stronger than the need to give extra quantity under PDS to 80 crore people. Now we don't have COVID-like situation. Its effect is also no more there. Economy is back on rail. Employment is back to the normal level. So I don't see any justification for extra 4-5 million ton of grain every month through Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. So I think that is very important instrument which can be used to bring inflation in food, either to keep around 7 or to even take it below 7.
Yeah, I take your point. I mean, there would be an inflation expectation angle to it. Dr. Gulati, out of time, but you want to react to it?
Yes, of course. I have written on this that even the last extension was literally a reward for the political outcome in some states. It was not COVID related, so to say. And this is the high time. Otherwise, you are building too much of fiscal deficit, and that will impact from the other side. And what you see in the cereal is the non-PDS cereal part. And if you have your stocks, which you can unload in the open market, you can tame inflation. So that generosity that you showed during COVID period, which was very
Lightning us with your 360-degree perspective. We started off discussing monetary policy, but there is a word of advice to fiscal policy as well, to discontinue the extra larges given during COVID, because the fall in stocks can have an inflation expectations impact on prices, non-PDS prices in the market. But otherwise, there is still some bouts of worry. The Rabi itself is not a worry, but international prices, because of the heat wave and because of geopolitical twists and turns, can be a question mark. And Dr. Gulati believes that a headline CPI of 7% could be persistent. Not very good news for the Monetary Policy Committee. Wrap up on this special show. Thank you for watching.